the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 153, recorded Friday, July 25th, 2014. The show without Tim. AVWeek is brought to you by Middle Atlantic Products, who invite you to stop by their new customer-focused website, Middle Atlantic Products, what great systems are built on.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing. Scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. If you're watching this live, good afternoon, at least in the Central Time Zone and also in the East Coast. So we have someone from the West Coast. It's still morning there, so thank goodness he's had his coffee. Speaking of that, we'll get him on first. Roger Takis is from Atlanta. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic this morning, Tim. Thanks for having me.
See, it's still morning. Also with us is Victoria Ferrari. I got to meet Victoria. How are you, ma'am?
Good, thanks for having me on.
I got to meet her at Infocom and got her a nifty little AVNation shirt with the red band on it. So, Victoria is from Synergy CT down in Texas. So, and last but not least, a gentleman who I reeled into writing a blog this week because we wanted to talk about something specific. His name is John Green. He works for Advanced AV, and he wrote a fabulous blog, and we'll talk about it. How are you, sir?
Wonderful. Ready for it? As we spoke earlier, we had a little bit of technology challenges, but I'm here.
Well, yeah, John's computer was up on the rack 30 minutes ago, so yeah. But that's why we have technicians and smart people.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah,
and a shout out goes to those.
Yes, absolutely. It's like
gift card in somebody's future, I believe.
Yes. It's like the network administration day every year. You have to get those people something for that. Otherwise,
right,
you're not getting anything.
Right. Some privileges are cut off.
Yes, all of your privileges. All of our podcasts are brought to you by the fine folks at Middle Atlantic, middleatlantic.com. What great systems are built on. We'll talk about those guys in about 20 or 30 minutes or so. All right, first up for us is the news out of our buddies over at CE Pro. Samsung is buying the smart home company Smart Things. First of all, purchase price $200 million. And I am in the wrong end of this business. John, we'll start with you on this one. Here's the thing. The whole Internet of Things and that buzzword, and I'm trying to stay away from that, but it kind of pulls us towards that the story does. Where do you think Samsung is going with purchasing this? Are they trying to get with the smart TV now and purchasing the Smart Things company? Are they trying to get more and more integrated, kind of an Apple-ish type thing?
It's funny. My take on the Internet of Things, especially when you have an organization like Samsung, or even an organization like Panasonic, you have so many multi-layers of organizations that I'm not quite sure whether they want to sell TV sets or they want to sell refrigerators.
Yeah.
I mean, that's they realize that there are devices out there, and there's certainly going to be apps driving those different devices so things can communicate together. We see it in the AV industry on a regular basis. I mean, you're going to walk into a room and you're going to want your iPad to work, or you want to walk into a room and you want everything to work. We're used to that, and it's just going to the home market right now. And what's interesting to me from this perspective is there is going to be that demand. I mean, we are often driven in the professional marketplace by a consumer market, and that comes and goes. The Internet of Things is going to cause that to happen. Reading the article and understanding, somebody walking with a watch, and they're reporting back, oh, you should have run out and got milk, or or flashed up on the screen when you sit down with your sandwich and your beer and you're ready to watch the football game, and says, hey, you want to buy tickets to the next week's game. It's all going to be blended together. That's what I see, and I see it even on the professional side. And I think that people like Samsung see it, and they get to decide, whether, like I said earlier, whether they're going to sell refrigerators or TV sets.
Well, I didn't even think about the whole wearable thing. You mentioned the watch, the ability to walk into a room, and it's a conversation that I've had with some folks before in my full-time job, is the ability to recognize folks, right? And you walk into a classroom, Professor Smith walks into a classroom, and all the settings are changed for that professor. Or you walk into you get home, right? And you walk into the house, and your kids have one set of abilities, and you have another set of abilities.
It's the future. Obviously, I grew up in a time when the Jetsons was the king of the technology, leading, the roadmap. But literally, that's what's supposed to happen. Again, as I precursor this whole thing, I went to my computer today. I pressed a couple buttons, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
That's a frustration that everybody's going to see and feel. I guess my only thing on the consumer side is, what's the expectation? Do you expect your refrigerator to send you an email, and what are you going to do with that information? And is that really pretty annoying? Those type of things, but we'll see. It's interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I tell you, I look at it from a little bit different perspective from my past at Crestron before at Lona. And I'm looking at this thinking, I think Samsung got a bargain at $200 million compared to what Apple's paying and what Google's paying for similar technologies out there. There's no doubt about it. Samsung doesn't want to be left in the dust. And they're doing everything they can right now to keep up with Apple, to keep up with where Google is, and to make sure that they stay relevant. And you say, well, does Samsung want to be in refrigerators, or do they want to be in cars, or do they want to be in phones, or do they want to be in TVs? Look at where Apple is. Apple's everywhere right now. And Samsung is doing the best they possibly can just to try to keep up. And for $200 million, if they acquired some patents in this as well, because that's another thing that Samsung runs into all the time, especially in their competition with Apple, and Google as a partner with Samsung on that, they're constantly trying to figure out how not to get sued.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the trucks with the nickels are going to start backing up to Apple again in order to pay off those lawsuits and the billions of dollars and causing problems with the U.S. Mint.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point. Is I didn't even think about the patent side of this. They probably, it is a good deal, and especially if they got a nice patent portfolio. Victoria, when it comes to not just home AV, but also, let's be honest, we some of us at least put or design Samsung displays inside courtrooms and boardrooms and stuff like this. Where is that going to take Samsung in terms of pro and residential AV? Where does that put them in the grand scheme of control and automation?
I guess I don't understand the question. Sorry.
Well, since they're buying smart homes and they're possibly going to integrate that into their already existing infrastructure and their already existing products, do you think maybe that would help them? Let's say that you put a Samsung display in a boardroom. Would that help them maybe control everything else, or is that just they're going to keep that in more residential and stay away from Pro AV?
I think it could potentially open the door there, but I've seen a lot in the industry that people don't like change. It's easy to just design kind of the same thing over and over again. Do what and the techs are familiar with it. The design engineers are familiar with the control that they've been using. I definitely see Samsung as a player on the residential side and the consumer side. I love Samsung products. I have a Samsung phone. I have a Samsung printer. I almost bought a Samsung fridge. I have one of their LCD panels in my house. So, I think that they're definitely giving Apple a run for their money on that side. And they could potentially get into the pro side, but that would take a lot more work on their part.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's the one thing about moving between residential and pro is it's sometimes difficult.
That article, not to interrupt you, Tim, but that article that you passed out there that we looked at, it talked about a little bit of the area where we're getting into these smaller markets in the residential area and all the different players in that. And that residential market really has an opportunity for the do-it-yourselfers, like it said. And these do-it-yourselfers are looking for a really inexpensive way to do things. And, being a former Crestron guy, I've got a lot of Crestron in my house still. I know the people at Atlona would like me to replace it with Atlona, but my wife says, you're not replacing it as long as it works. So she knows what I went through in order to get it working. But it all works. And for those do-it-yourselfers that don't have the ability to program Crestron or AMX or anything else out there, that's going to take a lot of time. If Samsung can turn a light switch on and off from your phone or your TV remote, they're going to be looking for that. Just like if Apple can do it, because we all know that Apple's going down the same road. Yeah. So it's that battle to get everything in the home, not just the one device here and there. And that's why I really look at this, and I think Samsung made a great purchase at a bargain discount compared to what the industry's been paying for these days.
Well, and Roger, that kind of leads us to another question that we've asked on this several times before when it comes to the app-driven, smart home. And I'll ask you three here, and anybody that wants to comment on it, does that not lead us to the app version of the too many remotes then? Because if you've got an app that runs your lights, and an app that runs your TV, and then another app that runs your stereo, and another app that unlocks your doors, you're basically got a page full, or if you're, if you nest them into one folder, you have a folder full of control apps, which is not as unsightly as a basket full of remotes, but it's still kind of the same concept, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I'm going to jump on this one. On the control side, I walk into my boardroom, and it's while I don't have a variety of apps nested in one folder, I have 20 pages to get to the page that says volume up, down sometimes. And, the problem is that we design systems on the pro side for, hey, this is going to be a cool thing to do. Let's bury it here. And at home, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, I think that there's a fair amount of, I just wanted to do this, this, and this, and I'm happy. Yeah. So having an app that is the master of all, sure, And I think that the other danger of that is my teenage son would probably take on that challenge and bring them all together because he's being taught coding at a high school level now. So there's that, weirdness about it. I want to go back to another comment about the Samsung. We do relatively high-end conference enterprise level selling, and we just put out a project for probably was worth about $1 million worth of conference rooms. And the pushback comes from an end user. Well, I can get the Samsung. And you sit there and you say, you're going to save $50 a set times 20 sets. Is that really the bargain that you're looking for? And then you have to go into the conversation, well, it only has HDMI and we have to change our entire wiring structure. All that weirdness is coming at us hard and fast. So we've whether Samsung fits the pro market, the customers are getting to decide that conversation daily.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, one of the areas there, as you bring that up about the apps and all that, I've made jokes about this over the years. If you start to just try to control your home or your office with apps, all you've done is turn your smartphone into a universal remote control, where you've got to push the button in order to get to the buttons that you want to use to control things. That's not a solution. But I think what Samsung's doing with this is they're creating the single app that will act kind of like a control system, so you won't have to open multiple apps. Okay. At least that's my impression. If they're not going that direction, it's a horrible mistake. Because
yes,
at Atlona, the discussion comes up all the time. Well, should we make an app to control our devices? And I constantly respond with, who wants to use an app to control their switcher? Yeah. We could control our switcher with an app, but do you really want to have a controller in an app-based control for our switcher, and then an app-based control for your amplifier, and then an app-based control for your TV? It doesn't make any sense at all. So as long as it's done correctly and not a universal remote of apps, but more of an integrated solution, I think it will be a good thing.
Yeah, Roger, all I want from you is the ability to talk to it over IP, and don't worry about the app. I'll take care of it. Right. And John, you need a better programmer. If you're taking 20 pages to get to a freaking volume control.
They just like to play, and when they let them play, that's what happens. So.
20 pages. Good Lord, dude.
Well, hey,
there's something called dashboard for control. Download the white paper from Infocom. Good night. All right.
Tim,
Yes.
I'll tell you, I just sent an email off to one of our product managers this morning. I said, just make sure it has IP control. Just to address exactly what you're
That's it. I mean, here's the thing, guys, and again, I work as a programmer and some other stuff, and we're getting more and more pushback from companies, from Fortune 500 companies, because again, the CIO and the CTO are the people making these decisions. They don't want 232. They think 232 is like an old, antiquated control protocol, because it is. But so they want everything over IP, and so we're having we're needing to design everything with every rack that we are designing, and every system that we get to program has got a network switch in it, and that's the first place that my programmers go when they start looking for the protocols to control things is what can I do over IP. Now, granted, there are some people out there manufacturers who still don't have IP control, and so there are ways around that, and you can massage it, and you can get little network devices that will, it'll sit on the network, and then it'll spit out 232 directly to the device. But yeah, we're getting more and more push to be IP.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and the pushback is obviously also very, very strong in our industry on standardizations.
Yeah.
The expectation that if I'm going to walk into room A, it's going to operate like room B, even though room A is a huddle room and room B is a major conference room. So I agree with you that.
Yeah, and that comes back to the interface and how intuitive it is.
Yep.
So, all right, let's look at some pretty houses. This is not my house. This is from Electronic House, the 2014 Home of the Year Multi-Purpose Room Gold winner. Now, this is not a residential show. I'm bringing this up for a reason, though. This sucker has motorized everything. Basically, you push a button and it unveils itself. It unveils the media room, and then you push another one and it hides it. So, the way my brain works is kind of scary. I'm thinking, okay, so that's the resi side, right? In the pro side, how and why should we hide things in conference rooms? Roger, we'll start with you on this one from a manufacturer standpoint. You guys make switchers and a number of other products. You also make some very small devices, which are very easy to hide, I might add.
Yes.
How do we do this, and when should we do this, I guess I should say?
Well, I think you have to look at a trend that's gone on over the last 10, 15 years. And there was a trend a while ago where people wanted to show off the technology in the room. They wanted to show people how cool and how big their projector was so that they could see how bright it was. And what's happened slowly is people have started to realize that the box with the light coming out is really not that attractive. I don't care how aerodynamic they make it look. They don't want to see it anymore. And the same thing's happening across the board. I know with Atlona, we've gone so far as to make our rack-based devices try to look cool. We've got a little slope in the box. The box goes in a rack, and then it disappears, and you never see it again. And then we also make a lot of our smaller boxes that you can just attach to the back of devices and have them go away, or wall plates or ceiling plates, anything we can do to help get the technology out of the room. The trend today is to have the technology, but I don't want to see the technology. And that's why companies like Atlona are in a fantastic position. As we're distributing everything over HDBaseT, bringing over a single twisted pair wire into the room to a small receiver box behind the display, behind the projector, wherever it may be, we're taking that larger technology out and bringing it smaller with fewer wires, and we're delivering what people want to see. I love that article because it's something I've been talking about for years. We've gotten to the point where really everyone wants everything. No one wants to have a room without everything, but no one wants to see a thing.
Yeah.
If they're not using it, they don't want to know it's there.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Victoria.
totally agree. I think aesthetics are important, especially in, like executive boardrooms and places like that. The client who hires an architect to design a room to look beautiful, I mean, they don't want to see, like Roger mentioned, a projector in the ceiling, or even sometimes the flat panel, on the wall. What I've found in the 10 months that I've been an integrator, I've actually had a little couple debates here and there with the architects, like, well, why are you using those microphones in the table? Don't you have something that we could hide? Can we put them in the ceiling? And I'm like, but so I agree. I mean, and clients are spending a lot of money on the architect. Most of the time, more money than they're spending on the AV. So, so they want the room to look good. And I mean, that house, that's awesome. That's a very cool way to do it. And definitely, I think we'll see it more and more on the commercial side to hide the technology.
But John, go ahead, John.
Our experience is exactly the same. I mean, on a corporate enterprise level, that's really important. But it's also important, and one of the other struggles, like I said, everybody in this industry has, is getting that AV vendor into the timeline of a conversation early enough to make sure that happens. When you're talking to end users, anytime you put motorized in, there's always a cool factor that gets torn away as a budget gets applied to it sometimes. Again, I agree. I think that there's absolutely a drive to simplicity, standardization, and they don't want to see technology. They just want things to work. So, I confirm everything said prior.
That works. Nothing wrong with having a consensus. From Installation International, a consultant by the name of Craig Lovell, basically was interviewed about audio networking. And he made a comment, and so I wanted to ask the panel here. Audio networking is difficult for installers to know all of the protocols. And he goes down the list of CobraNet and Dante and AVB and ALC and AES67 and this, that, and the other. So here's the question. I'm not going to ask the simplistic question of are there too many protocols? I guess the best question to ask, and John, we'll start with you on this one. Is there a best protocol? And if so, how do we get there? I mean, how do we get engineers and design consultants to standardize?
I'm going to lean on my
age
age here.
All right.
I'm going to lean on my age. I'm going to go back to the Betacam, Betamax VHS wars. It really is. The bottom line, and you often see it, is that marketing and price will drive the winner.
Okay.
There are engineers out there that will stand there and make the argument of this protocol and that protocol, and if it's not priced right and it's not adopted and it's not marketed properly, you lose. I mean, I guess I'm coming from a sales and marketing standpoint. And I think that I can't speak intelligently on the technical reasons of one over the other, but I can tell you that after everything's said and done, that seems to be the driving factor for a winner. So,
all right, Victoria, from that end and in the pricing and everything like that, is there a sweet spot, or is there a preferred infrastructure? I mean, because most of these are running twisted pair, right? Most of these are running category cable. So is there, what is maybe the best selling point when it comes to a protocol, or is there one?
Yeah, I've gone kind of back and forth on this because, it's nice to have a standard and, to have compliance and have something that just, works, and it's supposed to follow certain rules and all that, but it never really happens. There's never anything that's really, truly a standard. I mean, there's always variations here and there. I mean, even with HDCP, I know that's video, but, there's certain rules and regulations and things to be followed, but people do things differently. I mean, it's a different piece of hardware run by, with different chips and different programming and all that. So I don't know that we could ever make one standard. And I don't know if it's beneficial, if that ever does happen. It could be really good. But, I mean, there's always going to be different ways to send things down the pipe.
Roger, you got to save us on this one. You're the manufacturer.
Yeah. All right, Roger.
We don't do audio products.
Well,
sure you do.
The problem is that one of the victories on this is going to be the manufacturers.
Yeah, that's true.
There's two critical things, especially when you talk about this type of stuff. There's the consultant that's going to have that dinner and have that understanding and have that comfort of it to specify it. Because we as integrators often get the end of the stick and we start to implement it and we find out we need version 2.0 and 2.3 and 2.7. It goes on and on and on. And then eventually what will happen is we're barking enough that somebody abandons it. So, but we're still at the point where the manufacturer thought process is probably very important here.
Well, I think I can look at this with two different points of view and how the audio industry is going and why they're going the direction that they're going, and then look at where the video industry has gone and the success of video and what's happened on that side. To look at the audio industry, I mean, you look at any consultant out there that you're going to talk to, and I go out of my way to try to talk to as many consultants as I can, and every consultant right now has their favorite audio format for putting audio over the network. Yep. And it seems that whatever the newest one is the new favorite of everybody out there. So you say that it comes down to sales and marketing, but in a lot of times, I think for consultants, they want to be on the cutting edge of audio. They don't want to be left behind. If someone's going all digital over IP, well, by all means, I've got to go all digital over IP. And that's where a standard is really not able to take hold, because everybody wants to try to continue to be cutting edge and more cutting edge and more cutting edge. And eventually, that's why we've got all these splinters, because everybody wants to do something different and they want to be more advanced than somebody else, which is creating this just plethora of people out there and plethora of formats that are out there on that side. But look at the video side. Now, it's happened completely differently and for video. So everything that we do video-wise in distribution is HD-based T.
Yeah.
Right.
So HD-based T is a consortium, but it's all based on a valence chipset. So while you think that there'd be other people out there trying to do things, and yes, Extron's tried to do other things, AMX has tried to do other things, multiple other companies have tried to do other things, but really once HD-based T became established and everybody saw that it worked, the other things went away. And everybody's jumping on the HD-based T bandwagon along, AVNation's there, Crestron's there, and all these other companies are trying to jump towards HD-based T. The difference is while all these companies are doing it, it's based on a standard off of a single chipset. So, in the audio world, you got all those audio guys creating all their own things, and there's not one company driving it and selling it to everybody else. That could make the difference for audio. If someone can get out there and try to license it. You brought up the Betamax versus VHS wars. If Sony would have licensed Betamax to everybody back in those days, John,
Marketing.
come on.
Marketing.
Come on.
I get it, but that's
we never would have had a DVD.
Come on, you're making my point. I mean,
It does go back to
JVC lost. Okay, see this is I was back in those days when they literally go, we're going to lose this war, give it away. So it turned into a marketing campaign. I can remember spending hours talking about this. And the same thing happens even in what we're talking about here. I love to have the Harman guy come in and have the Biamp guy come in and just put him in a room and go, watch this happen.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Victoria.
I mean, how do the consultants know about the latest and greatest unless they're, tuning into the sales and marketing? So.
Okay, so
and also,
go ahead.
I understand why consultants want the latest and greatest. I mean, they're usually doing projects way, way far in advance. I've tried different roles in this industry. I've worked as a manufacturer. Now I've, doing the integration side. I don't think I would ever want to be a consultant. They're doing jobs that are so far out in the future. I mean, by the time it does, go to bid and go to the integrator, it's some of the stuff's, changes so fast.
Let me ask you this, because I understand the latest, greatest thing, right? But isn't there something to be said for something that is tried and true and works, not something that's...
Oh.
Yeah, and that's the classic war between integrators and consultants. It's like the integrators.
And here's the better one. We talk about all these things. What problem are we really trying to solve? I mean, that's
the bottom line.
I mean,
yeah.
We forget to ask that question often when we're talking to our clients. What problem are we trying to solve? Because a 40-inch plasma on a wall will work, and it doesn't have to be a microtile wall.
Yeah.
We want a microtile wall, but we have to solve the problem. And I truly respect what the consultants do, because that's the question that they're asking their clients and trying to get the answers from. And the other thing that's happened in this industry, the clients don't know.
No.
So
yeah.
Yeah, they look at the technology and you're right, John. They don't simply know what they're trying to do.
Right.
You know,
They know what an end result might be sometimes, or a feeling might be, or I saw this might be. But there's a lot of positions well before us that I do not envy. I agree with you, Victoria.
All right. On that note, we're going to take a slight break. You guys can get yourself something to drink and what have you, because we're going to talk about our fine friends over at Middle Atlantic. Middle Atlantic is one of our sponsors. Is our sponsor right now. They got two things they want to talk about. First of all, the new C5 series credenzas and their new FlexView display solutions. First, the credenzas. They came out and we showed you on a couple of shows ago the plethora of overlays they have. For the credenzas, the colors and the types of designs they have. They have some that look like wood and some that look like marble and tons of colors. So when you are working with the architect and you do want to hide the equipment, this is actually one really good way to do it. I didn't even plan that. This is one good way to do it. The other thing they have is the FlexView display solution, and this is it's a monitor display. It's a display mount, and they have a couple different options. One has a motor on it, lets you raise it up and down. Very cool. In the backside, they've got the Middle Atlantic. I call it the Middle Atlantic lacing bar, but it's a place where you can mount equipment. They also have another one that has the very huge, giant base. It's a VC. It's a video conferencing display mount that you can roll around. So check out both of those. You can go to middleatlantic.com. You can get customer support there from 8 in the morning until 8 at night Eastern time. So whether you're on the East Coast or West Coast, you're doing a job and you just got to have somebody to help walk you through whatever you need from Middle Atlantic. Go to the website, middleatlantic.com. Middle Atlantic, what great systems are built on. So we thank them so much for their support of AVNation. All right, from innovateonthenet.net, the world's first projection mapped display unit. And I'm going to see if I can show this on the video portion. If not, we'll just simply describe it. But basically, this is a... Yeah, there it goes.
Technical difficulties. Please stand.
So if you're watching the video portion, we'll kill the music there. It's basically, it's a 3D, and I hesitated even doing this story because as much as I hate 3D. But it's a 3D digital signage box from a company called Projection Artwork. Victoria, the question I put on the show notes to you guys, is this the next generation of digital signage? Is this where we're going to go when it comes to digital signage? And that is showing things like, in this case, they were showing tennis shoes, but showing things, products and services inside basically an auto stereoscopic box, or is this just kind of a gimmick maybe?
I think it's hard to say at this point. I don't think it's going to completely take over every single digital signage application, but it's definitely cool. It's cool to have out there, you know. I love the idea of how they do it with the mirrors. You know, I didn't think about that, but light bounces, you know, and so if you have mirrors in the right place like that, just like in a rear projection, you know, system, you can bounce the light to make it look cool. I think it's awesome. I love it. I mean, I would put that in my house just as artwork. It's cool. Yeah, not the shoes necessarily, but you know.
They were pretty shoes, yeah. Roger, when it comes to this, I mean, is this where we're going with digital signage, or is this just kind of a gimmicky thing to do?
You know, I looked through the article and I thought about it, and the first thing that entered my mind was, why would you put this in a store where you're selling the thing that you're advertising? That doesn't make any sense.
That's
and that
true.
looked like what they were trying to do. Because the first thing that I thought is kind of where you're going. Let me put this in an airport, right next to that Best Buy in a box.
Oh yeah.
and try to sell stuff over there where people are walking by or they're bored waiting for a flight or something. But yeah, that from a signage perspective, it does look pretty cool. And then you can have somebody order something right from that and turn it into a kiosk and have it shipped to their home or something. Just another thing, kind of like Redbox, somebody can have their whole business replaced by a box outside of 7-Eleven.
Right. I agree. And we've been involved in digital signage for a long time, but they always ask you a couple of questions. How cool? How much?
Well, yeah.
And that's, and that's not, that's remarkable technology. I don't think that was an inexpensive solution. I think that if you're going to do 1,000 of them, sure, you can bring the price down. But, digital signage needs to see a return for its dollar almost immediately before they adopt it. That's what we generally find. But, my personal opinion is that absolutely is where it's going, flat out.
Say that again,
even on mapping, I think that, visually, I think that it grabs people's attentions. I think that, you walk by something like that, whether you want it to go to that store or not, you're going to walk into that store.
Yeah.
And whether it fits its function of, I'm going to design a shoe, which is a very good idea. I agree. It's the barker on the boardwalk.
John, say that again though, because you made a comment there real quick. You said that digital signage needs an ROI almost immediately. Is that the standard expectation that almost, whatever I lay out for this, I'm going to get a return within a month or so?
Well, I think that's what they're looking for.
Okay.
There's a hesitation to make an investment, especially let's say if we're going to go to the retail side, a supermarket is not going to put that in. Their margins are too low. They need to have somebody else sponsor that. So if it's Kraft that's going to sponsor it, they're good to go. But somebody up the food chain is going to say, what's the return of investment? I mean, that's the driving factor. Because if they can accomplish the same thing with a paper flyer, what's the advantage? There's an awful lot of conversation. The other driving factor, and we've seen it and we've heard it often, is the content. Somebody's got to create that content. And that's, a catalog of 1,000 shoes, and you can do all kinds of things with it. There's an awful lot of work with that. So I don't know what the margins is. Maybe in ladies' shoes, Victoria, it's really good, but sneakers, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't know what the margin is on shoes. I just know. You know what? I've got I have a pair of black Echoes and I have a pair of brown Echoes, and that's it. I guess tennis shoes.
So. My style is I got a brown one and I got a black one.
Yeah, that's it. Now, Matt Scott, on the other hand, has, he has a very large shoe closet, so he's not even here to defend himself. So, all right. So here's the thing. Some interesting things have happened since InfoComm. We've gotten a lot of people writing blogs now on our site, other than me. And one gentleman wrote his first blog, and I was very happy with it. I was very impressed. The blog is called Why I Decided to Attend InfoComm, #InfoComm. I have to put this out there, with my hashtag eyes and my ampersand ears. The author is John Green. And it was interesting because, not for nothing, but Advanced AV was one of the sponsors of the Tweet Up. And John wasn't there. Some of your representatives were there, but you were not there on purpose because you attended InfoComm basically through social media. So real quickly, we'll start with you, and then we'll get Roger and Victoria in on this. But walk me through the process of how you decided to do this, and then your experiencing InfoComm through social media.
I'm in an age group where tweet and Facebook are not necessarily an adopted practice, but LinkedIn is obviously something that our industry uses on a regular basis. And 5 years ago, when I lost my job, I used LinkedIn and said, "Hey, this is pretty neat." And I started to study it as a sidecar, as to why somebody uses it, how you communicate, that type of thing. But I mean, there's some real life anecdotal stories that made me drive towards social media. And I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. Yeah. I'm a Flyers fan, and we were playing Pittsburgh one year, and I brought a house of 20 people together, and we're looking at the TV set, and they're showing the LA Kings, and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to tear the place down. I said, I'm waiting for Comcast to put it along the screen. Flyers building burns down, TV game.
Yeah.
And I what is happening? And my teenage daughter is sitting on her phone, and she's pounding away on the phone, and she goes, "It's coming on in a couple minutes." I go, "What?" She said, "It's coming on in a couple minutes. They're just doing this as a preview." I go, how do you know that? And she says, it's all, they're talking about it on Twitter. I go, Twitter? What's Twitter?
Oh, hang on. We got to show Roger.
Did I just feed you? I just fed you, didn't I, Roger? Nice.
Hey, Sean, thanks a lot. Thanks,
Roger
we're
is
very
showing.
proud of our LA Kings here
Yes.
in Southern California.
Oh my gosh!
Well, let me tell you,
Championships in 3 years.
It was truly a disturbing moment in my household because we don't care about LA, and you were talking about you carrying it around. It was really pretty funny. So you can imagine on your side of it, the humor to see 20 Flyers fan going, "Why are we watching the LA Kings?" Or whatever. It was really pretty funny. But
That's the first time I've heard reverse coast bias.
But what was interesting to me is that there was a conversation going well beyond us.
Yeah.
There were 20 people in the room, and there was a conversation that was going on around the same event, and they were coming at it from a different perspective. So from that moment on, and many other moments afterwards, I threw myself at it and tried to understand it. And as I said in my article, it's brought a passion. There's a real passion for this, and I enjoy it because I have identified this outside world. I mean, and I said, I've been to Infocom 30 times. If I see Las Vegas one more time, I'm probably going to just blow my brains out. It's charming and it's wonderful. But let me look at it from the outside, going in on a Twitter feed. And what was remarkable to me is AVNation was one of them. There were a lot of other people that put together the AV selfie was a wonderful idea. Yeah. All those things gave us an opportunity to talk about a common experience. One other thing that I saw recently, which was remarkable to me, was the World Cup. I don't watch soccer. I'm a football and I'm a hockey guy, but I watched the last game, and there were 6 million people watching the game, or whatever it might have been, 637 tweets, and it wasn't all about soccer. Every once in a while, somebody would talk about Gaza, or somebody else would talk about another. So there was a conversation. There was a living room outside of my own living room, and that's exactly what I saw with this Infocom. I had also attended some other things. I do TED conferences for full days and just see and jump in and have my opinion. So it really was a lot of fun, and it didn't change the dynamic because as I said in my article, I went to the show. I grouped up with a couple of people. Victoria was one of them, and we traveled the show together. Me and Victoria went to a booth. I saw a tweet and said, "Oh yeah, I got to get over there." Yeah. And I would go to the website, and I would go to the tweets, and I would follow those people, and it was like, oh, that was really good. And what was even funnier at the end is I came back and we have this breakdown meeting where everybody comes in from the shows and says, well, this is why you spent $1,000. I went to the Drunk Uncles concert, and I visited this booth, and I met this person, and they all said their piece, and I said, well, let me tell you what I saw. And it was different than everybody else. Yeah. So I was one of the 6 people that were there. My opinion they were like, oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't know that. Really? One other thing, and this is unfortunately, you can see I'm a little bit passionate about it. One of the other fun things that was really remarkable was the willingness for the booth people to interact with me. I mean, there was at one point where I was interacting with Crestron because they had put the AV selfie up on everybody's. They put the AV selfie up on our large screen. I said, hey, what about me? Because I was using my carrot meme, and I said, put my carrot picture up there. And they said, no, we can't do that. I said, oh, you don't know who you're dealing with here. And I interacted to the point where they at least took the picture of the meme, put it on a plasma in one of the back rooms, and said, are you happy now? Leave us alone. So the ability to still attend the show and interact with booth people was remarkable. Afterwards, they were again. I feel relatively honored to have increased my network. Victoria is one of them. We do business internationally, so we're looking for sourcing of technology people in England. I met a source for exactly that, and we've talked ever since. So I didn't lose anything, and I just think that it's a tool that everybody should use if they can attend. It was a lot of fun. So
I loved your blog. I thought it was fantastic, and it's one of the things that over the last few years, Now I'm at Atlona. Before that at Crestron. You look at the trade show and what's going on with the trade show and where is it going and how much it costs to be there, how much it costs to in not only time to be there, but the lost cost of not being able to get any work done while you're there. It's always in June. It's always right before the busiest week of the possible year, that last week of June when you're trying to do everything you can possibly do. So, there's always been the discussion recently of how much longer are we actually going to go to trade shows? And that's what I kept reading your article and thinking of, is this the death of a trade show? As this starts to catch on, what says that instead of having it a big trade show in Vegas and then people remotely watching what's going on, instead it's an AVNation organized trade show that's entirely virtual, where you have manufacturers that start to post things to AVNation, and instead of people walking up and seeing things, they virtually go in, and then everybody starts talking about what they're seeing through the website, and you have that kind of interaction, and it saves companies thousands and thousands of dollars, and your feet don't get tired, and your back doesn't hurt, and you drink your own alcohol instead of waiting to get a free beer from somebody else.
Yeah, I think there's so many dynamics on this. I mean, one of the more important dynamics is the control of the information. I mean, that's what trade shows are. Trade shows decide that you're going to find out about new products in June. Well, if I'm a consultant and I got a project in February, you lost. So, I mean, that communication, that ability to control the information is always one of the pet peeves I have about trade shows. I absolutely positively agree. We absolutely lose our minds that our top engineer has to be out there for 4 days. And if you divide that by the amount of hours we can charge for him, it hurts. The ability to find out information faster is relatively critical. If you have the product that's going to solve a problem, why would you wait 2 months to do it? Why would you wait a month? Put it out there and tweet, and again, let that initial absorption occur. I really did. If I'm walking with Victoria, and as I said earlier on, she went to the corners and crevices of booths, and I went, that's interesting, and I went to a website, and I did my research, and if I wanted to ask a question, I could go back into the booth. So, yes, but everybody loves a party. So attending trade shows is not going to work.
I've been to 10 Infocoms, and I am sick of Vegas myself, but I could see the point you guys are trying to make with it being virtual and it being real time, and it being, doing it that way could be cool too. But I still feel that, seeing that piece of hardware, seeing that stuff in person, feeling it, touching it, playing with it, walking the show floor, shaking hands with people, I feel that that's still important. And I mean, just kind of like what we were talking about before the show started, when the big E company dropped out of Infocom, I mean, I think it kind of hurt them. It's still maybe too early to tell, but I think trade shows are important. I think more than just unveiling new products, because I know that some manufacturers don't have something new, and they kind of just like revamp something or add some features to something else just to show it at Infocom. I've seen that happen with some manufacturers. But I lost my train of thought. Where was I going? I don't know. But yeah, I think it's still important to have them to have in-person, trade shows. Maybe smaller regional events instead of one big, show once a year. Or maybe a combination. Maybe some manufacturers go virtual and some, are there.
That smaller regional thing, it's the same amount of preparation on the manufacturing side if you do a large show or a small show. So I don't think more in-person trade shows is the solution. But I think if someone tries out a virtual show, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. The one thing that I think that everybody, like in social, one of the differentiators that I'm seeing in the marketplace is that if there is a bit of personality from the manufacturer side. If we talked about the big E company not showing up at Extron, and the product that they're putting out, it's dry. It's here's a box that does this, and you're like, okay, great. And if I go to the trade show and I'm interfacing with somebody at a booth and they bite back or they toy with you or they play with you, whatever, it's adding personality to it. And it still doesn't take away from going to a central database where you can gather the information. I mean, if you ask me who I should buy product from, I would tell you right now, I'm going to wrap a system. I'm going to put Listen in every system. I'm going to put Vadio in every system. Crestron's going to be here. You know, that type of thing. Atlona, yes, Roger. Atlona's there. Yes.
Thanks, John.
Well, it is. I mean, there's a reason for that. Is because there's a better communication. There's a little bit more of a touch. You know, that's what's going to happen, and I think that's going to have some impact. It really is. So.
Well,
Tim, it looked like you were going in and out on us there.
I had some network. Well, John's not the only one that had. All right, you guys kept the conversation going. I appreciate it. A couple of years ago,
we committed you to doing a virtual trade show.
That's awesome.
AVNation.
That's an awesome idea.
So in
InfoComm
January, in January, AVNation is going to host the first ever. Did I just go away?
No.
Yes.
You just went away.
Somebody did.
Something happened on my side. Okay, so an AVNation in January is going to have to host the first ever virtual AV trade show.
Okay, that'll work. Now I will say it's not the first one though. A couple of years ago, tried the same thing. A commercial, not commercial integrator. Julie Jacobson invited me to it. It was a CE Pro virtual trade show. With chat rooms and this, that, and the other, and you could literally walk through and click on the different booths, and there was someone there, a representative from the company, and you could chat with them, and they could show you videos of their product and this, that, and the other. So, but yeah,
how'd it go?
We're good. We could do it. as long as you're up for it. I mean, you're the manufacturer, so. And John's obviously, is game for it. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, that was fun. That was an interesting little interlude there with my technical issues. So yeah, that was the last story I wanted to. Actually, I just wanted to end up with John's blog post and talk a little bit about doing trade shows remotely. And honestly, the biggest thing I think that I got out of it, John, was the connections you made. Right, yes, and it was kind of serendipitous, the fact that we had Victoria on. I didn't realize that she was one of the people that you had connected with on social media.
Yeah. No,
he was like
very active.
My 100th follower or something. Or what? Some guy from his office was my 100th follower.
Yeah, that's how it started. That's right.
That's how it started.
I'm looking for my 100th, and somebody jumped in on me, and I'm like, "What was that about?" But yes, very much so. It was fun.
Very cool. Yeah.
And it was, and I think that somebody else made the mention of it, and I'm sorry I can't attribute it, but it was a friendlier show because of that.
I tell you what, and here's the thing, and I'm not, I had this much to do with the selfie. Chris Netto is kind of the spearhead for that whole thing. That whole experience, right, and everyone taking selfies, and I actually got a very nice one with Victoria. At one of the booths, and it just made it more personal, right? It made it more fun. And then the times we got to play the video, and now it's on our YouTube channel.
Well, I know how to get the next winning AV selfie. I just got to bring the Queen along with me, apparently.
Well, no, we got yours in there with the carrot.
Well, the carrot's good, but I think the Queen. If I bring the Queen and get her photobombing me, I think I win.
Well, that's fine. We will be doing it though at the CEDIA show. We're AVNation is covering CEDIA for the first time, and as we speak, Hi-Fi Phil Cordell is rewriting it and reproducing the AV selfie song for CEDIA.
Oh, cool!
So we'll be doing that. So, Roger, does Atlona? Here's the thing. I've never done CEDIA, so I keep asking my manufacturer contacts. Do you guys do CEDIA?
Yeah, actually, we do CEDIA.
Okay.
Our residential business is quite strong. Our booth will be similar to what we had at InfoComm, but with different content.
Okay. Very cool. Now, is that, again, I don't know these things, is that a show that you would go to, or is that more a whole different group of folks?
Now, since I'm on the commercial side of our company, I have nothing to do with CEDIA and a trade show that runs into Saturday, luckily.
Well, a trade show that runs into Saturday. during football season in Denver when there's a Denver home game. So.
Oh, at least there's a home game. You have an excuse to go watch a football game if you're from Southern California.
Good luck getting tickets to that. Actually, our buddy Matt Scott, who I mentioned, is a good size residential and house of worship dealer, and that he goes to CEDIA, has for years, and he's actually going he's going to CEDIA, and then he and his dad are going to a Denver Bronco game.
Is there any insight as to why Colorado all of a sudden is picked as all this good location for shows? Any driving factors for that?
None at all. Has nothing to do with engineers.
I'm just asking.
Actually,
I've been over to social media, so I don't know what's going on.
I mentioned to my wife that we're going to CEDIA, right, and we're going to tweet up again, and it's in Denver, and certain things have happened in, somebody mentioned
legislation.
Please give me the hashtag so I can catch those hashtags later on in the day.
Keyword hash there, John.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be here all week. On that note.
Should close it out.
Middle Atlantic is so proud to sponsor this program. John Green, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
This has been fun. The blog was great. I appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
How can people find you or Advanced AV, or both, actually?
Well, again, our website is www.advancedav.com. Relatively simple for that. My Twitter handle is @jgreen6. That's GREENE 6. I put it together just because that's how big my family is. That's simple as that.
Oh, good deal. All right. Roger Tekis from Atlona. We were talking, a lot of my good friends are starting to work at Atlona, so you guys are making some noise. How can people find you or Atlona?
Well, we're happy to have your good friends over working with us now. And if you know more good friends that are on the East Coast that want to come work for us, I'm looking for a regional sales manager on the East Coast right now. So please send them my way.
Okay.
If you're looking for Atlona, you can find us at atlona.com. And if you should desire to follow a Twitter feed that doesn't get very much activity, you can follow me at @LonaRoger.
Okay. I thought you were going to throw your Atlona's social media people under the bus. It's like, follow Atlona. They don't do anything.
No, Atlona actually does a very good job on
Okay.
Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on
Yes,
Twitter.
they do.
They do a really good job, but you can follow me and not see anything really if you'd like. I'm not very good on Twitter.
Come to the dark side. Come.
Right. You know what? Twitter should just hire John.
I gotta tell you. My teenage daughters just look at me and go, "Stop! Just stop!"
All right. And last but not least, Victoria Ferrari from CT from Synergy CT. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, it was fun. My Twitter handle, Victoria0429. You can be my 145th follower.
Is there a prize for that, Victoria?
Yes, one unlimited supply of my tantalizing Twitter feed.
Hey, wait! That's what you promised me too.
Well, All right.
We'll see everybody at InfoComm. We're going to be at InfoComm, the regional show in Philadelphia too.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I'm going to try the hashtag CEDIA thing. I'll maybe follow CEDIA a little bit.
Okay.
I'll try your method, John, and see what it's like.
We should just get on the phone and just talk to each other. So about that, I agree.
There's always that. Yeah, you can always just talk instead of virtually talk.
Phones are so.
If you want to see me next week, I'm going to be in Boston next week at the Campus Technology Show.
That's a great show.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be there. If you're going to be in the area, come by.
We have representation going up there. That's next week, right?
Yes. Yep. I'll be there Tuesday and Wednesday.
I may actually chase somebody over to you.
Excellent. I'll be with the FM Valente booth.
Okay, got it. Good people.
Very cool. All right. Speaking of Twitter, don't follow me, but go by the website and follow the website, because I'm like Roger. I don't tweet very often. I do. But as AVNation and a bunch of other people, so yeah, my personal Twitter has suffered. Let's just say that. But go by the website if you would, avnation.tv, avnation.tv. This show and a host of others. The boys from the AV App Show have recovered from InfoComm, and they just posted a brand spanking new one yesterday. So check that out. AV Social. Live. Projectors. We've got a show about Pico projectors, one about lighting, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, go by the website. And now featuring a handful of bloggers, John included. We have one from Bradford Ben. Our buddy Harry Mead did his swag report from Infocom 14 with a table full of swag that he got at different booths.
It was very enjoyable.
Yeah. I think my favorite one was Vadio's little lightsaber thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was very, very jealous of that.
And yet you need to know that I'm actually tweeting them to death right now, going, "Where's my care package? I know I didn't go. Where is it?"
What you need is do Vadio Haley, and she's gonna shoot me.
I know.
She's gonna shoot me, Vadio Haley, for that.
Oh, it's Vadio everybody over there.
Oh yeah, Vadio everybody over there. Yeah.
There's Vadio Alec, the new intern. We got to meet Vadio
Alec.
Yes, we haven't either.
Okay.
He won't come. Actually, Vadio Alec stole my carrot meme because he only had his egg.
Yeah.
And he didn't put his picture up, so I gave him a hard time. So he stole my meme.
Nice. All right. So yeah, do that. Go by and check out all those shows, and say thank you to Middle Atlantic for sponsoring all of our stuff. MiddleAtlantic.com. What great systems are built on. Thanks so much for watching. Even when I dropped out. Thanks so much for listening.
Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
Thanks, you guys. This
Thank you.
has been AV Week.